Hi, welcome to the Anatomy of a Styled Shoot. I'm your host, Donald Doherty, and I'm here today to take you through this short masterclass on my experience of running styled shoots. Styled shoots for me have been key in growing my business. They're fun ways to explore and improve your craft while developing relationships with creative teams that can generate a ton of referrals. So I'm really excited to join you for this very quick webinar. I worked on 3 or 4 style shoots over the last couple of years. They've seen me get published on leading wedding blogs and in magazines, particularly with a Man of Steel style shoot, which went viral. In this masterclass, we're going to look at how you can come up with an idea for your style shoot, setting up your shoot, finding your creative team, the shoot, sharing the images with your creative team, and of course, getting published. Many of you will be aware of me, myself and my backstory, so I'm not going to spend too long going into it. But essentially, I used to be a marketer and I fell in love with photography. Had a chance to shoot a beautiful wedding in Australia, decided to go full time, and basically 5-6 years ago, and literally have not looked back. It's been an amazing journey. I'm in a really great position now because I shoot around 50 weddings a year. Last year I shot a wedding for £8,500, so that was the highest one I've done to date. But I would say that most people are usually spending in around between 3,000 to 4,000 by the time that we're kind of finished with the process. So I'm able to achieve those high-end clients, and using the strategies that I basically learned from my career in marketing, I've been able to develop a market-leading business, and I'm excited to share with you today how you can do the same for your business. Just want to share with you some of my images so you can get a kind of a feel for my work, and my work and your work will very likely be completely different, but this is the style that I like. It's kind of light, bright and fresh. I kind of use the words natural, fun and editorial to describe the style of work that I do. Yeah, definitely like that kind of bright and kind of breezy feel and look to the images. Cool, so let's get started. The most important, or the key thing that you have to do in advance of organising your shoot is to understand what your goal is. And I'm going to look at some of the potential goals or some of the potential reasons why you might want to organise a styled shoot. One of them could be to network with and to create and develop a creative team. And we're going to have a chat about that, how you can build a creative team, what the benefits of building a creative team are. But essentially, building a great creative team through a styled shoot is a fantastic way to massively boost your referrals. Your goal for the shoot may be to get published. Of course, it's great marketing. It's relatively cheap. Get your name out there big time, and it raises your profile in the industry. It positions you as a thought leader and one to watch among people in the wedding industry. So again, many of you may be out there and this is your goal, to get published. Then it could be all about exercising creativity. That could be what you want to get from this shoot. So essentially it's a chance to try techniques and things you normally wouldn't do with a regular client. You can use props. Of course, there's no pressure. Or certainly a lot less pressure without having a real couple or a real client there. You can perfect things, so when it comes time to do it in a real life situation, you've actually already perfected that technique. Obviously, we can't in the middle of shooting a client say, hey, hold on, let me just try this out. If we don't really know what we do, it's going to make you look incredibly unprofessional. Florence, who is one of our educators that we had here on Engage earlier on the year, in his fantastic course, Brett explained that he shows 70% of the portfolio that he displays are from styled shoots and shoots that he's constructed and came up with the idea for. But he actually knows how to recreate those looks and those concepts for a real client. So that's key, that you really got to understand and be able to recreate that look. So those are some of the ideas behind the goals you may have moving forward. It could be one of those goals, or it actually could be all 3 of them. You may be trying to do all of those different things in one shoot, and that's fine. But just by having an understanding of what your key goal is before moving forward, I think that's really important. If anybody has subscribed to Engage, or you guys have had a chance to watch the business plan collection, I was very lucky to interview an incredible photographer called Campbell. And Tim shared some of his thoughts on his experiences of shooting personal projects and style shoots. And I thought the content within that is particularly relevant in this context. The interesting thing in regards to Tim's story is that Tim's friend asked him to shoot his car. Tim kind of went all out with it, made an amazing job of it, and a year and a half later, he was shooting for major car brands. I mean, that's incredible. So that kind of leads me on to the next point of what I want to say is it's all about book more of what you want to shoot. So essentially, a style shoot or a personal project, because I guess they're similar in a sense, is a great way to show people exactly what it is that you want to be known for. And essentially the work that you show will attract more work of that style and that caliber. So, for example, again, if you're shooting weddings and you hate shooting family formals, I personally would avoid showing a lot of family formals on my website. If you want to be known as the main person to shoot, for example, the main person to shoot wedding shoes or whatever it may be, show lots of that on your website, because that's going to attract people and work like that if you can show that consistently through your portfolio. So finding a concept for your style shoot, it's not easy. Almost anything you can imagine or you can think of has already been done. So you have to come up with something which is a fresh idea. Some of the areas that you can look to for inspiration are film. I'll talk to you in a little while about the Man of Steel style shoot and how we were inspired by film. But look to films that are coming out, maybe get on IMDb, look at the schedule for what's due to come out in the future and see if there's anything that you can take inspiration from for your style shoots in the future. Fashion, is there a fashion trend? Maybe it's really short wedding dresses or whatever it may be. Trying to look to the world of fashion to see if there's something, an influence that you can take from there and use it as your concept. Books, is there a book that you're really passionate about that you believe that could be translated or could be the inspiration for a fantastic style shoot? Popular culture, just seeing kind of what is kind of going on there right now, what's trending. Music, I've seen people organise a style shoot around an album or around a song even, for example. Trends, looking at kind of what's coming down the line, or the season, summer, winter, Christmas, Halloween, whatever it may be, using one of those seasons to actually influence your idea. So you've got that great idea for a style shoot. You came up with something that you found that is unique, it's compelling, it's going to be attractive to your target demographic, it's going to attract more of that style of work that you want to shoot, and nobody else has done it before. So how do you communicate that theme and share that with others? Well, Pinterest is a fantastic resource. This is an example of the board that we had on Pinterest for the concept of the Man of Steel or the Superman style shoot. It's all about pulling together the influences. Think of the imagery connected to your concept. Think about the colors. What sort of color themes are you thinking about? Obviously, if you're involving cakes and things like that, think of the style of cake that you might be interested in. Think of the table decor, all the different elements which are connected to this concept that you've came up with. It's a great tool to communicate with your creative team, but also to get yourself thinking about the different themes that are connected and that run through that kind of idea. The good thing is you can come up with a number of concepts, storyboard them, come up with them in a kind of a Pinterest board and see how it works together. Share it with your creative team and kind of see which one really sticks, which one they feel is going to be of most kind of interest and is going to work the best. So essentially Pinterest is your online scrapbook. You're able to pull loads of images from the web, from ones that already are archived within Pinterest, create a board, and then you essentially pin to a board. You just click on the image, add it to your board, and eventually you'll have a really rich series of images, which is fantastic to look at, and you'll be able to see how that all kind of looks together. So let's talk about building your creative team. You want to find people whose work you really admire, those people in the industry who you'd love to work with. You've seen their work at weddings, you've seen it in magazines, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, with that said, if you're only starting out in photography, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to get somebody who is the top person within the industry to connect with you and to essentially work with you in a style shoot, because they're established, they're used to working with people at their level. What you need to do is you need to find somebody who's at your level within the industry, connect with that person, and essentially you'll be able to work together to raise yourselves up at the same time. You want to find those people who are passionate about what they do, who are passionate about making change and passionate about doing things which are innovative and that will kind of improve with you over time. 1 weak link can really ruin a shoot. I've been on shoots before where the makeup artist perhaps wasn't the best, and it's basically ruined the shoot. So it's really important that the people you get on board, that you have faith in each of those people, and that's why developing these relationships is so important. So you have to pitch the concept of the shoot to each of these creative teams. So once you've found your individuals that you want to connect with, you have to pitch that concept to them. You need to be excited to work with them, and it's really important that after the shoot you supply them with images and you credit them. The enthusiasm is actually such a key point. So when you're speaking to them, you need to say, we love to work with you on this shoot. You know, really excited about this concept that came up with. I think this could be really fantastic. We think like you're the perfect person to do this. We just literally wouldn't want to work with anybody else. So it's key that you show that enthusiasm and that passion for your concept. As I mentioned, it's really important that you supply them with images after the shoot, and I will talk about that in a little second and talk you through the processes connected with that, but it's important you supply them and you credit them when you use their images as well. One of the big concepts, or the big concept that I am definitely is on my radar massively over the next year, is authenticity. And you want to build authentic, genuine relationships with that creative team. You want to work to help them grow their business, and that will come back to you in spades. So don't always go to those people with the thought of, what can you do for me? Go to those people to think, you know, what can I do? How can I help you in your business? Each of you as photographers, you have incredible tools at your fingertips. You have the knowledge and the skills in order to use those images to create gorgeous, compelling photographs which are going to move people and which are going to help people to showcase their brand in the way that they want to the maximum effect. So you've got an incredible skill, and you can help other people. So, you know, why not help them out, see what you can do for them, and then that will come back to you. I promise that, you know, I'm a big believer in karma, and what you can do for those people, it's going to come back down the line. Of course, as time moves on, you can work with that creative team again. And obviously it's going to lead to a lot of referrals as you build and you nurture and you look after that creative team. Okay, so who are the essential members of a creative team for a successful style shoot? An event designer is really key. So that may be somebody you may have witnessed at a wedding who was dressing the room or helping out with that, or dressing the ceremony location. Those people can be fantastic because they've got some really great ideas, and they own a lot of the props and things as well. So if you can find an event designer who's innovative and interested to get involved in collaborating on a shoot like this, it's a great idea. Hair, I'm lucky that I'm married to a hairdresser, but again, we all know hairdressers, and you want to find that person out there who is incredibly innovative. I showed you the board already from the Superman style shoot. Once you have your board together, the concept is that you're not actually telling these people, this is exactly how I want you to do this. What you're doing is you're coming there with the idea. So this is my concept. These people are all professional people, and you want them to interpret that concept that you've created. You want them to interpret it in the way that they know best for their professional area. So if one of these people, for example, tried to tell you how to take the photographs, most of you would be thinking to yourself, hey, well, I'm the professional photographer here, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to tell a hairdresser how to do the hair on a shoot. They know how to interpret the theme, and obviously for them, it's a collaborative process. and you're stronger together. And it's all about them bringing their A game to the shoot in order to make sure that shoot looks amazing. Same with makeup. Again, linking into the models, you want to be making sure that the model's skin is really good, so that the makeup artist is not having a tough time. You want to give these guys enough time as well to make sure that they have enough time to apply the hair and makeup, because obviously it's key that they have the opportunity to really do their best work that they have. Floral design, so you want to get a great florist, a bridal florist who is really kind of skilled in the area that you're looking for. So from what I see, there's a lot of florists out there who are really great with vintage, and there's people who are great with another area. Find the person that fits your theme, find the person that you get on with and you have a good relationship with, and again, let them run with it, let them take that concept and go for it. Cake, again, find somebody who has a great artistic eye, who's great to work with. The thing is, they don't necessarily need to be there on the day of the shoot, but it's just good for them to obviously provide the cake. And it's important, a lot of times when they build the cake, it's not a real cake. It's usually made out of I think it's polystyrene or something like that, and then covered, so it lasts basically forever. So you want to be careful with that cake, because I know the shoot I'm about to show you guys in a second, that cake became kind of very famous, and everybody wanted to see the cake, and the fact that she had it and was able to bring that to bridal fairs, it was a great asset to her business. Paper goods, so this is can really add just that little something special. So that's like order of service, the menu cards if you're doing a table, and again, it's about finding someone whose style that you love, who can interpret the theme, and who's willing to spend the time to pull this together, because we're not paying any of these people. Maybe you're perhaps contributing to some aspects of the event design, maybe you buy a couple of props or something like that. But essentially these people are all getting involved as part of a creative collaborative process. So again, they're actually out of pocket to do that, but again, that's why it's essential to make sure that they get great images afterwards. Models, and again, this is a part which can really make or break your shoot. There's a number of websites out there like Model Mayhem, where you can access models who want to do time for print or time for CD, so that basically they get the images in return, and it's good for them because they're building their portfolio. It's good for you because you have a model that will work with you. I know locally here in Derry, we have a magazine called Local Women, who constantly have a number of kind of young model, aspiring models who feature in the magazine every month, and a lot of them, because it's not a huge place here, a lot of them may know somebody, or you may be able to connect with them on Facebook and reach out to them with a concept. And if you are a photographer in your area, you may have a little bit of a profile anyway, but reach out to them, let them know your concept, let them know who's involved, and see if they might be interested in actually helping you out in the shoot. And for many models, I've never paid a model for a style shoot yet, but I have done other things, like I've shot some portfolio stuff for some of them later on. But they've been more than happy to get involved, because it's a really fun day, and also they get some great images from the session as well. It's important to have model releases as well, so you need to have your model releases there on the day. You can find these online, where you can just print off a version online and share that with the model. It just keeps everybody right. Make sure to look after the model as well. Make sure to feed them on the day, because it can be quite a long day. So get sandwiches or pizza or whatever it may be to feed these guys when they're kind of there. If it's cold, make sure that you're kind of covering your model. Make sure that they're made to feel really special on the day, because if you want to get the best from them, that's really important. Location is again really key to making sure that the sum of all this comes to a really compelling shoot. So finding a location that fits with your concept, it does take a little bit of work, but you need to think outside the box. So I'm currently planning a style shoot next week, and last night I was chatting with the actually it's a kind of a bridal designer actually I'm doing it with, and we were thinking about locations, and we got on to thinking about derelict buildings, and we came up with a list of derelict buildings that we know are available. So she's going to contact one of the guys that owns the building. So sometimes it's about thinking outside the box, the location that's going to work well for that concept. Obviously, many of you that are watching this, you're all over the world. You're in the States and you're around Europe. Here in the UK and Ireland, the weather can be bad, obviously, sometimes. So sometimes it's good to have a kind of a wet weather plan if it is going to be inclement. So think about that, because obviously you don't want to go to all this work and then your shoot to be kind of rained out and not to be able to do it. Yeah, use the best team that you can get to get involved with you, and it's going to elevate the whole project. There's a concept that Justin and Mary Morantz, who are incredible people, the concept that they talk about, which is about +1. So they always talk about when you go to do a shoot, you always need to think about, okay, but this is the standard way to do it, but how can I +1 this? How can I do this just that little bit better? You know, what can I do to elevate this to the next level? So it's important that you try and encourage and motivate all of these people to be on the top of their game. For each of these shoots as well, if it's your concept, you're kind of leading the whole process, so you're liaising with each of these people. I've been involved in other projects where, for example, the hair or the bridal designer was the main leader. So essentially all I had to do on the day was maybe input in advance, maybe some ideas towards the project, and then turn up on the day and shoot it. So it's a lot less work. Being the one that's coordinating the shoot, it's a lot of work, but you know what? It really pays off, and it's an enriching experience, and the relationships that you'll make through this are going to see you really, really well in the future. So without further ado, I told you about the Superman style shoot. I'd love to share with you a short slideshow of the images from that shoot, and then we'll get on to talking about the execution and everything which followed the shoot as well.
I'm gonna walk 100 miles. I'm gonna whistle all the while. If that's what it takes to make me smile, I'm gonna walk 100 miles. I'm gonna run right up this hill, summer sky or winter chill. If I gotta take a break, I will, but I'm gonna run right up this hill. I wanna hold the whole wide world right here in my open hands. And maybe I'm just a little girl with great big plans. I'm gonna go and take a chance. I'm gonna learn to ballet dance, learn a little something about romance. I'm gonna go and take a chance. I'm gonna live a crazy dream, impossible as it may seem. Doesn't matter what the future brings, I'm gonna live a crazy dream. And I wanna hold the whole wide world right here in my open hands. And maybe I'm just a little girl with great big plans. I wanna hold the whole wide world right here in my open hands. And maybe I'm just a little girl with great big plans. You tell me, don't try it. I'm warning you that I won't buy it. All the failure is fleeting. I trust it always has its meaning. I wanna hold the whole wide world right here in my open hands. And maybe I'm just a little girl with great big plans. I wanna hold the whole wide world right here in my open hands. And maybe I'm just a little girl with great big plans.
I loved shooting that. I mean, it was so much fun. It was a real burst of creativity. The whole team that we were working on, we really pulled together, and I think it just turned out fantastic actually. On the day, essentially all I had to do really was to organise a little bit with the creative team. My fiancée Margaret, at the time, Margaret was heavily involved with kind of organising the whole team. I kind of came up with the Superman shoot, and then Margaret really worked on pulling everybody else together for that shoot. So really for me on the day, all I had to do really was turn up and do the shooting, and then obviously editing and everything else from there. So this is the board that we had for the Rock and Roll Christmas wedding. This was the next style shoot that I did. You can see from here, there's a lot of reds, a lot of golds, a big Christmas theme running through it. Very, very different from the Man of Steel style shoot. And I'm going to share with you guys right now the slideshow of images from that style shoot, and then we'll get on to talking about the execution of this shoot, the issues that arose, and then publishing your shoot with both of them. Okay. Again, on this one we worked with pretty much the same creative team. We didn't have as much of a lead up into this shoot, and everybody was really, really busy in the run up to Christmas. So they maybe didn't have as much time perhaps to prepare for the shoot. So this is how we translated that into the shoot on the day.
Leaky faucet, creaky floor. We don't even own a bathroom door. The sofa set is nothing to be jealous of. We don't have a lot, but there's no shortage here for love. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. All the pennies in the wishing wells, all the diamonds Tiffany's could sell, all the riches put together, all the sunny California weather could not make me love you any better. You could give me all that I request, and if you fancy, darling, be my guest. But I'll take less if more means having less of you. Who needs sequin shoes or private jets to Kathmandu? Oh, 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 oh. All the pennies in the wishing wells, all the diamonds Tiffany's could sell, all the riches put together, all the sunny California weather could not make me love you any better. I don't need your money, just your kisses and your funny faces, which I miss when you're away.
So let's talk about executing our Rock and Roll Christmas shoot. The first time that we did the Superman shoot, everything ran incredibly smooth. When we came to doing this Rock and Roll style shoot, we had a few different issues on the day. The person that provided the cake, they were really, really busy. So they provided a cake, but I'm not sure if it was really a dedicated cake for the shoot. I think it was just something perhaps that they had kind of lying around that they felt might fit it okay. The location that we were shooting at was around 2.5 hours actually away from where I'm based. So it was quite a big drive to that location. It suited the events designer to do it there, but for us obviously it was a big drive in the winter. On the morning of the shoot, we had a little bit of an issue with one of the models. They decided that they were going to pull out of the shoot. I think perhaps they'd been out the night before, and essentially we had to beg them to come along to the shoot, because yeah, obviously everybody else had everything set up, and so we managed to kind of work with them to encourage them to come along, which was a little bit of drama on the morning of the shoot that perhaps we maybe didn't need to have. On the day the shoot went well. Obviously, with it being a winter shoot, we were really up against it with the light, and we shot as much as we could up until the light, and everything, to be honest, it went pretty good. And we also had a chance to shoot inside as well. So that was the execution of the Rock and Roll Christmas shoot. So let's talk about getting published. The Superman shoot, I took the kind of lead on getting that published. The goal for that was actually to get it published in one fab day, which is one of the biggest wedding blogs in the world, and it's the #1 in Ireland. I think it's like the third or fourth in the world. So I sent in the Superman style shoot to the guys at one fab day. You can submit it through their website, so there's actually a little place up here where you can say submit a wedding, and you can share it on there. The other thing as well is that the timing of the Superman style shoot was really thought through, because the Man of Steel style shoot film was just about to come out in the theatres, so it was really well timed. The other thing as well is when I sent them this shoot, they came back to me to find out whether I would be interested in advertising, and encouraged me to advertise as a way to kind of ensure that this was going to get featured. You will find that sometimes with magazines and with the blogs. I was in any case interested to advertise with one fab day anyway, so it kind of fitted with my plans anyway. So I did advertise, which always helps to grease the wheels a wee bit when you're sending things into magazines and publications. So this got a huge feature on one fab day. As you can see, they featured a really great range of images from the shoot, and experienced a massive spike in traffic to the website when this went live. After that, after it had been published, the way it works with a lot of blogs is that they want to have it exclusively. But after a while, we started getting, I think it was another 3 or 4 weeks before the Superman film was coming out, and we got approached by dozens and dozens and dozens of other wedding blogs who asked us to publish the shoot. So we went back to one fab day and asked them if it would be okay, and they said it would. So we ended up getting this published on dozens of other wedding blogs as well. So the images went viral. There was an incredible amount of shares on the shoot, and people just loved the images. Yeah, so I just wanted to say, in regards to this shoot, we were kind of spoilt. The thing is that it went so well that we kind of expected this to happen every time that we did a style shoot. So that was kind of one of the issues that we had from that shoot. The other issue was that, as I mentioned, Margaret, my wife, had done a lot of the organisation on the shoot. And while I came up with the concept, she had actually done nearly everything on the shoot. When the shoot was actually published, there was very little mention of Margaret. So you can imagine, she was incredibly frustrated that took place, because basically it explains here within the content that I had done all the work for the shoot, which I had not actually told the blog, but I had obviously advertised with them. I submitted it, explained that Margaret had done everything in regards to organisation of it. But whenever it came to editorial, you really have no control. So that's something, to be aware of. You need to brief your whole creative team that essentially you're putting this together, you're putting it in, and you have no control sometimes over the end product in terms of the text which is there. So yeah, that's the thing. We're speaking again now, don't worry. But yeah, obviously it was a little bit of a frustration, as you can imagine. So we came to our Christmas shoot. Let's talk about getting it published. The goal for the Christmas shoot was to feature an Rock and Roll Bride, and that was kind of essentially what we wanted. It's kind of a bit strange to me now, actually, because that, I understand, is not my target client. Perhaps it's Tom, who many of you will know from Engage. Tom loves that kind of client, and that is his client, but it's actually not my client at all. But for some reason, I thought that I wanted to kind of put together this kind of concept as something a bit different. So we did the shoot, and we sent that out to Rock and Roll Bride. I think at this point it was around 5 weeks before Christmas. Kat from Rock and Roll Bride came back fairly soon to let us know that that it wasn't for them. That essentially they're now more concentrating on real life weddings and less so on kind of style shoots. So that was fine. So then we submitted it to Rock My Wedding. Rock My Wedding's policy is that if you submit a wedding to them, you have to wait for 3 weeks to hear back. And if you don't hear by then, essentially they're not featuring it. So we sent it into Rock My Wedding. 3 weeks later, it was 7 days before Christmas, and we still hadn't got this published. And there was all the creative team waiting on me to have this published. You know, and obviously there's the anticipation that this was going to be as big as what we'd done before. Luckily, I had the relationship with One Fab Day. I was able to send this to One Fab Day, and I don't think it says a publishing date on here, but I think this was published 1 or 2 days before Christmas. So obviously, had that not been published, it would have been obviously useless, essentially. This was actually sent out in a Saturday selection, which only features about 2 or 3 images. I think there was a number of issues with this shoot, and I think that one of them perhaps was the ubiquitous nature of the concept. You know, if you look around the web, there's loads and loads of rock and roll style shoots, or of sort of tattooed brides. So I kind of feel that perhaps the concept was a little bit ubiquitous, and that was perhaps the reason why it didn't get picked up as well. So this is the whole kind of feature that was showcased. There was only 2 or 3 images from the shoot. I want to talk to you about what you do with the images from the shoot, because that's vitally important. You need to brief your creative team in advance of the style shoot what your plan is if you're planning to get this published. That means not sharing all the images with your creative team. In fact, I maybe share 1 or 2 images with them as a sneak peek, and they don't get to see anything else until it's published. The reason being, if a magazine or a blog sees these images all over the place, they're very, very unlikely to publish those images because they're already kind of out there in the public domain. So it's important that you keep kind of a hold of those images so that they're not kind of all over the place before you get to actually submit them to a blog or magazine. After each shoot, for example, after the Superman one, I posted 2 or 3 images from the shoot on my Facebook page, tagged up all the creative team as well, and encouraged them to share. You need to ensure that they know that they have to credit all of the creative team as well. So, for example, if we flip back to, let's see, this one here, you can see at the bottom all the creative team are mentioned. So the location is a beautiful place called Drina Estate, which is just in Limavady. Hair, Margaret Johnston and Honey Hair and Beauty. Makeup was Rosemary Wright. Cakes by Miriam. So every single person who was involved in this shoot is credited, and it's really key that they're credited wherever these images are shared. So it's important that you let your creative team know that as well, because people get lazy and maybe for whatever reason don't end up crediting people, and this can lead to a lot of kind of bad feelings and a kind of a bad situation. So that was fine. So that was that shoot. When it came to rock and roll shoot, I actually shared a few images from this shoot on Facebook. I think it was like perhaps the day after the shoot. Now, I think I had a shoot that I had to go out to. So I put the photos up, I went out to my shoot, and when I came back, the thread that I published these on had so many comments, over 100 comments. But what had actually happened was a lady that was on the, well, let's say a troll that was on the Facebook page had wrote under one of these images that that she thought this was a disgrace, that this bride had tattoos on her arms, it looked absolutely terrible, who wants to see that, stuff like that, you know, really kind of quite personal attacks really on the bride because of her having her sort of sleeve tattooed or whatever. What happened then, because I wasn't around to actually deal with that, was the community actually dealt with that lady. Eventually this girl got on there, her mum got on there, and there was a little bit of drama. So obviously we did this to kind of provoke a reaction, and it did definitely get that a little bit, but it's important that you look after people as well that you're looking after. So, you know, it's important that you kind of keep an eye on what you put out there. The other thing to say as well, I had another issue with this shoot. After the shoot, I prepared all the images and put them into either a Dropbox gallery or a past gallery is what I tend to do. And I Dropboxed those to all of these, all the vendors that were involved, including the location. which is a beautiful country house which I've just started doing weddings. So we sent everybody out their emails, and that was fine. It was starting to become very, very busy around about that time. I think this was starting to come into wedding season when we eventually sent everybody out all the images. A few months later, I had a wedding at this location, and when I went to the location, I bumped into the owner, who is a lovely gentleman, but he's maybe 50 or 60 years old, and he stopped me and he said, "I'm not very happy with you." Well, my heart sunk, because for me and my business, I want to make sure that everybody is always really delighted with everything that I do, and we make a point in not upsetting anybody. Anyway, so he proceeded to tell me that he hadn't been sent any images from the session, and I had let him know, and when I went back home I checked, he had been Facebooked the images, but he said he didn't use Facebook. So he had been annoyed with me for 3 months because he doesn't check his Facebook account, and because he felt that I had shot in his location, used his place, he made us tea and scones and everything else, really looked after us, and then he wasn't looked after in the way that he felt that he should have been. So you know what, it's a lesson learned, and for me, after that experience, any shoot I do like this, I always send the images and I ring the person, make sure I get in touch with them, drop them an email, and make sure to speak to them and make sure that they're 100% happy, they received the images, that they're credited, and everything's great. Because the last thing you want to do is have somebody out there that's unhappy with you and you're not aware of it. So it's important to go through that process. Love my dress. Obviously, there's loads of blogs out there you can submit your weddings to if that's your ultimate goal. Love my dress is a really good wedding blog I've been published on as well. I believe that they're actually charging now to actually feature in Love My Dress. Not sure if I paid to submit a style shoot, because obviously it's a lot of work actually to do it already, but something to think about. Many of you will hear me talk about Two Bright Lights quite a bit. I think Two Bright Lights is a fantastic service. Yeah, Two Bright Lights is definitely worth getting onto. It's just a small monthly fee, and then you're able to submit your images, create an album, and submit those out to a range of blogs. Think about how you name your images as well. So when you're exporting your images out, make sure that they meet the guidelines of the blog that you're actually submitting to. And for example, if you're submitting to Love My Dress, you want to be naming them Love My Dress, let's say Man of Steel style shoot, or and then your name. Okay, so it's important to rename them if you're sending them to a different publication as well. But I definitely suggest get into Two Bright Lights, and start uploading your album in there and start sharing them that way. Or like One Fab Day or some of the other ones that are out there, they have their own form, so you just go in and fill the information out in their form and you submit from there. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this really quick presentation. Hopefully it's sparked some ideas within you. Looking back at the goals again, if you want to network with a creative team and build referrals, do a style shoot, connect with those people in your team. And if you're helping them out and sharing with them and helping to promote their business, they're going to do the same for you, and they're going to send loads of referrals your way as well. Getting published, it's not always easy to get published, and perhaps it's really important to let the creative team know that it's not a given that you're going to get published, and that obviously it's kind of out of your hands. You guys can come up with a great concept and execute the shoot, and from there you're going to do your best to get that published. But getting published, it's fantastic marketing. It's free marketing, it's viral marketing, it's compelling, it's you know, you're using your images to the very best and the very best way to bring you the sort of work that you actually want to shoot. Exercising your creativity. You know, I bought a tilt shift lens earlier on last year, and I had an opportunity to use that during a style shoot as well. Obviously, I'm not going to pull out a new lens or a new bit of kit on a wedding day without really getting an understanding for how that piece of kit works. So I felt, and I feel, doing creative shoots is just such an amazing way to get creative, and then use that creative energy and those concepts and those techniques and those skills that you've learned from that process and put them into your weddings and into what you're regularly shooting, and that's going to help you massively. You know, I would talk today about weddings, and that's primarily what I shoot, and that's why I use those as an example. But there's no reason why you can't do this same concept for portraits. There's some amazing websites out there. Inspire Me Baby, which is just brilliant to look at and will give you a smile every time you look at that website. Truly Madly Kids is another one to check out, and again, just a great place to go to get inspiration, to look at some of the fantastic kids shoots there. Come up with a concept. You know, maybe it's like a pretend, like little kid's wedding or whatever it may be. You know, and come up with a great concept and then pitch that to them, and come up with that shoot and send it off to them, and you never know where that's going to lead to. As with our last webinar, we'd love to take your questions. If you're not just yet within the Engagers group, check it out. The Engagers group is a brilliant network, actually, of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in there right now. And thank you to the 22,000 users that have tuned in all year to watch what we've been doing here. Get on the Engagers group. We're going to start a thread for this shoot. Any questions that you have, I'm there to answer. So I'd love to take your questions, and I'll answer to the best of my ability and just share my experience. And you know what, just get out there, just do it, create a style shoot, move your business forward, and make a commitment to excellence, and just have fun with it. And I hope you guys all enjoy your style shoots. We can't wait to see them. Share them within the Engagers group, and we'll see you really, really soon.